Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Voices of Impact. I'm your host, Michelle Jewsbury. I'm the founder and CEO of Unsilenced Voices and a global breakthrough expert, helping people tell their stories on different platforms worldwide. I'm excited today for Shannon Russell to be able to tell her story and for us to get to know a little bit about her. So, Shannon, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Sure. So I am, first off, a mom of two little boys, and I began my career as a television producer and then pivoted to open a franchise business. And now I'm a career transition and business coach, helping women feel empowered to leave their careers and start a business.
That's awesome. Now, do you primarily only focus on women or do you do men and women? Primarily
I
women. Okay.
I have had men work with me in the past, but my main focus is women because I feel like I want to help kind of my younger self who felt lost leaving the corporate world, and I just want to help women, that I can relate to in that way.
That's awesome. Okay, so now that we're talking about your younger self, we're just going to dive right in. So let's take me back to little Shannon when you may be growing up in your household, you might be young adolescents. Tell me about your life. Tell me how school was, if there was any adversities at home, what propelled you to now help women, but really join into the corporate life when you first started.
Yes, when I was little, I lived for television. I just wanted to work in Hollywood and be on TV or working behind the scenes in TV since I was really, 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 really little. But my entire family was very blue collar and lived in the same town. So my ideas of leaving this small town really, I guess, made me the black sheep in my family in a sense in my town. But that was where my heart was. I was a theater kid. I made my parents take me to New York City to do auditions. I just wanted to be involved in the entertainment industry in some way. Um, and so that was kind of me always being a little bit different than everyone in that sense and having these like really big dreams. And being the first person in my family to go to college. My parents got married right out of high school, worked 9 to 5s. So for me, I had very big dreams and just knew that I'd be able to accomplish them. I had this like really unwavering sense of self that I just was going for it. And so my parents were able to send me to college where I had incredible internships and just kind of went outside of my small town and worked towards my dream job, which was being a television producer.
That's amazing. So you and I actually have a lot of overlap, Shannon. So me growing up, I'm from North Idaho, so a small town in Sandpoint, Idaho is where I was born. My daddy was military, but I ended up going back to Idaho to graduate high school. And that's where many of my friends and many of my family members still are. They didn't want to move, right? They just wanted to stay there. And there was this dream and this desire inside of me to move to Hollywood, California to pursue an acting career. So I moved to Hollywood and I pursued acting for about 13 years. It's now January of 2025, and I am actually filming a new reel this March and looking for agency representation coming up this year as well. I've got a friend who's going to help me possibly get back into the entertainment industry because I love it so much. So I totally understand your journey and why you chose the entertainment industry. So you're a TV producer. What shows were you producing?
I started my career at MTV and was kind of there throughout my 16-year career. But I also moved from New York City to Los Angeles and worked in reality TV. I worked for and a bunch of really bad reality shows. And then I ended up in the digital space working for Yahoo and Pop Sugar and some shows that were, when everything started booming online. And then still continued to be at MTV in New York City when I moved back to the East Coast many years later as well. So kind
Got
of
it.
all through there. You
Okay,
were
that's
probably out
super
there at the
cool.
same time.
When was that? What year?
I was there 2003 to about 2012 or so.
Okay, so I my abusive relationship started the end of 2011, beginning of 2012. So I was on the central coast of California at that time. Before that, I was in LA. So we may have crossed some paths. I never made
Oh,
it to New York City. I mean, I've traveled there, but I never wanted to live there because New York City is a hard city to live in. So if you live there, ladies and gentlemen, kudos to you. Uh, but we totally probably would have crossed some paths. So that's amazing. MTV, I love the fact that you worked on MTV and reality TV shows. So let's fast forward. You're now in this corporate job. You're doing what you've always loved to do. What made you now transition into being a coach and helping women?
It was the aha moment in heels, 8 months pregnant, running through the Times Square subway station, trying to catch the bus to get my 3-year-old from daycare. And I realized this is not the life that I wanted because I was constantly stressed. I was leaving. I was the boss at the time at the show I was working on, but I was leaving at 4:30 to catch a bus to make it back home in the suburbs for 6 p.m. pickup at daycare. And it was just the eye rolling of people when I would leave early and the stress of it all. I realized at that moment, and soon after when my little one was born, that I didn't want to pursue this anymore because I had already accomplished what I had set out to accomplish, and that I wanted to kind of check the box on that dream and pursue something else where I could be a more present mom who wasn't frazzled and stressed to be in all the places at the same time.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and even parts of the 90s, we thought that we went to school, we got a good job, we stayed at that job until the ends of our days. We
Yep.
retired and then traveled, maybe, right? Maybe
Yep.
played golf. And this day and age, things have shifted a lot in a positive direction. They say, they, as in, like, I've read this in newspapers and magazine articles, they say that a lot of the millennials and younger now switch jobs and career paths over 6 times in their lifetime, which is completely different than what it was with our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents.
Yep.
And it's where we desire to strive for even more. We feel compelled to use our stories, we feel compelled to use our voices. And oftentimes we strive for this end goal, this end result. And once we get there, we are left unsatisfied. There are certain things that we may not like. There are certain things that we didn't know about when we're going after our dreams or our visions, and it's okay to pivot, right?
Mhm.
So Shannon here has pivoted, ladies and gentlemen, and it's okay to pivot because you matter. What you do matter. Your story matters. So, Shannon, the impact that you are making right now in society, what do you think is the number one thing that stands out to you?
That I'm helping women realize they don't have to stay stuck, that they don't have to wait for that magic moment when the kids are out of the house or when they're retired, that they can take advantage of their experience, their life experience, and pivot in a way that doesn't cause chaos in their life. And do it in a way that they can get to the other side, start their second act, and feel empowered
Mhm.
to wake up every day and do what they love rather than feel stuck and that this is it, because we're not our parents' generation, like you said. And I think my parents thought I was crazy for wanting to switch and leave this dream job, but now they see that I've been able to help others, and I'm able to really build a new life for myself. And what I was in that first act is still me. And I think that's important to let women or let people know that you can take that experience and move it along with you. And you're just adding on and building a fuller life.
And speaking of first act, you have a book that is newly released for the time of this recording. It's January 2025. Tell us a little bit about this book.
Yes, the book is called Start Your Second Act, Create Your, sorry, I'll say that again. Start Your Second Act. It is coming out in April of 2025. So it comes out very soon. And it's all about just leaping from your first act to your second and trying something new and doing it in a way that really fulfills you. So I'm
That's
hoping it
amazing.
empowers a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, Breaking the Silence, Voices of Survivors, we've published volume one and volume two. We're publishing volume three in October of 2025. At the time of this recording, we have three spots remaining for authors for that. And then my second full-length book called Your Ultimate Breakthrough is coming out February 25th of 2025. So that's coming soon. So Shannon, you and I have some overlap there, but I'm very excited to read your book, and I'm sure many of our audience members are as well. So, what's next for Shannon Russell?
I am speaking on stages a lot. That is my next step is to really get out and spread the idea to more women and even to corporations because I think career transitions, or starting a business doesn't have to mean that you're leaving everything behind. You can make a transition in your corporate job to just find that place that you feel a little bit more like yourself or you feel more creative and you can start a side hustle business while you're working and there's just ways to fulfill your life in a way that really means a lot to you. And so I'm hoping to speak a lot more this year, promote the book, and just keep reaching out to more women and working with them through my coaching and programs to feel that empowerment that they can make a change and not wait until down the road.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. See, what Shannon's talking about is acting now. I
Mm,
remember when I first started my nonprofit organization, Unsilenced Voices, God gave me a calling to do something even more with my story. I was not college educated, ladies and gentlemen. I had 1 year of college. I was bartending. I say this story all the time. I literally was pouring Jack and Cokes and grabbing beers for people, and they were my first mastermind. And I'm like, hey guys, I think I'm going to start a nonprofit. Okay, cool, Michelle, grab me a beer, right? But lo and behold, I said yes to that calling. And that pivotal moment in my life was when I said yes to myself. When
mm,
I decided to take that leap of faith and move forward, just like you may be listening on the other end right now, taking that leap of faith is what makes us human. It's what drives us to succeed and do even more with our lives. And I encourage you to do that, whether it's working with Shannon or taking a different leap of faith, but definitely, definitely take that leap of faith and take that big step, right? So,
mm.
Shannon, what does impact mean to you?
I think it's to see the fruits of your labor on the other side, to see how it's affecting other people's lives, and spreading the word too, because I think it's interesting when we have these conversations and you and I can share our stories. We want other people to feel inspired by our stories and then change their own story and then spread that on to other people. And I think the more we can show others that you can make a change in a really delicate way, but that has big impact for you, it starts to have impact and trickle down to those around you.
Yeah, I love that answer for sure. And this is why Breaking the Silence Voices of Survivors was created, because this anthology that we do yearly really helps other people to take that leap. And when somebody picks that book up off a coffee table and reads a section about somebody overcoming trauma or pain or disease, anxiety and depression, domestic violence and human trafficking and cult, there's this hope that we give people because we use our voice to speak up. And that's why we do what we do. And Shannon, it sounds like that's why you do what you do. So, how can our listeners contact you?
You can head over to secondactsuccess.co. That has everything from my book, the way to work with me, my podcasts, and everything. So secondactsuccess.co.
Secondactsuccess.co, not com, guys, co
Right.
dot co. Okay, so I know that this is a very short interview, and our interviews are quite short, and I love to get right to the point, and you've been a delight. So before we end, I want to ask a few more questions of you.
Please.
One, have you had any adversities in your life? Working through corporation, working through starting your own business, what did that look like?
There's been adversity, definitely in the entertainment industry of trying to be a woman who raises in the ranks. Because it seems like even for me, there were certain instances where I would be the executive producer or the senior producer, but yet the men on the team who were under me, would almost have more clout
Mm,
with the execs than me. And I'm sure you've witnessed this in Hollywood as well. There's just a lot of the boys' club, I guess. And so there was a lot of adversity in Hollywood, more so than New York City, I would say, throughout my career. And I remember once crying at the office to one of my bosses and being told, "This is not professional. You
mm,
cannot cry."
mm,
So there was a lot of that, and I think things have changed, hopefully in the past, 5 years or so. But that was always very hard. And then you want to keep striving to go up that ladder, but then you realize, what is the point if I'm going to keep getting pushed back down?
mhm,
Um, and in starting my business, my first business when I left TV was a franchise business. And that I did not feel that way. I felt very empowered, because they gave us the tools. It was a very cohesive organization. And I realized then really how different the entertainment industry is. The Me Too movement, just things that just weren't appropriate, that everyone just kind of, shoot off to the side.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that's when you make that pivot and you find a place where you are in control and you feel validated and valued. And that's where you're meant to be.
Yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
And do you have any last words for our listeners?
I say learn before you leap. So if you're thinking about making a change in any direction, do the research, talk to people, have conversations, listen to podcasts like this one, and learn a lot, because that'll give you that confidence to take that next step forward. And honestly, we don't know how long we're here for. So make that impact now and make that change now so that you don't regret it. We are not our parents' generation, so we are allowed. Michelle and I give you permission to take that leap now.
Yeah, definitely. And
Mm.
and life is short. We are only on this planet about 100 years if we're lucky. And we never know what's going to happen. I've lost family members, I've lost friends. Just yesterday, there was a baby born into our family. I'm now an aunt, so I'm very excited about that. But I don't know how long I'm going to be here for. So, in order for me to be faithful and that positive reinforcement for her, I have to take that leap of faith, like we are continually talking about in this episode, and move, right? God can't steer a parked car. Move in a direction, he can definitely steer you. So,
Mm.
Shannon Russell, thank you so much for being here. You are absolutely wonderful, a delight. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure to connect with her. We will have her link hopefully in the show notes. And this has been Voices of Impact. Everybody have a great day.